CM Punk is one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling. Be it his run in WWE or his current stint in AEW, Punk has done it all. However, he's been mired in controversy thanks to his pipe bomb, leaving wrestling and more. In his career, Punk has made controversial decisions which shook the industry. Other times, his choices left everyone watching and scratching their heads. This is Wrestling Up, and here 10 times CM Punk's ego took over. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official, and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. In mid-August, CM Punk took a shot at Adam Page seemingly out of nowhere. Punk was set to face Jon Moxley for the title on the next episode of Dynamite. However, he opened Dynamite by calling out Page in an impromptu title bout, saying, "Some things are very important, some things are not so important. I want to get the not so important things out of the way. Where are we tonight? There's somebody that's from around these parts that I would like to challenge to a rematch, and I would like to do it right here and right now for you beautiful people. Hangman Adam Page, you want that rematch? You got it. Right here, right now, let's go." Punk moved on in his promo to Moxley, but not before giving Page unwanted advice. That's not cowboyish, that's cowardsh, a little bit of advice, and I'd suggest you take it. The apology must be as loud and as public as the disrespect. Meltzer revealed the words that Punk had for Page were absolutely off script, and no one knew that was going to happen, which is why Page didn't come out. If you're wondering about the CM Punk thing at the start of the show with Adam Page, that was weird for everyone, as in nobody knew he was going to do that. If you remember months ago when they were feuding and they said that there's a lot of reality to it, well, there's a lot of reality to it. I don't know what the deal was, and nobody else does either. Punk was supposed to go out there and talk about Moxley and build a match, and he did after he talked about Adam Page. Apparently, the reason Punk was upset with Page was because 3 months back, Page had brought up workers' rights in an apparent reference to Colt Cabana during a promo. Punk held that grudge and instead of addressing it, brought it up on TV. CM Punk being straight edge was not a storyline put on by WWE. He believed in that lifestyle. As a result, he did not respect Jeff Hardy, who had the opposite lifestyle. The two had a feud which was one of the most epic during that period. Unfortunately, there was a lot more reality in that story. Punk went off script at times to talk about Hardy's drug habits, once referring to his company wellness policy violations. "Jeff, you've got 2 strikes. Do you know how many I have? 0. Jeff, you know how many times I've been suspended? 0. Do you know how many times I've been to a rehab facility? That's right, 0. While fans hoped this was a part of the angle, Jeff, in a slurred rant after leaving WWE, would reveal there was heat between them. He said that while legends like The Undertaker and others would say hi or talk to him backstage, Punk never approached him and would always walk by as if he did not exist. It's clear that Punk's dislike of his lifestyle led to him making an enemy of Hardy. If there's one person who surely hates CM Punk, it's Ryback. When Punk left WWE after years of issues, he opened up about said problems for Colt Cabana's podcast. Punk made his feelings about Ryback clear, saying he was very reckless in the ring and was stiff. After he was released from WWE, Ryback never got another wrestling job. Even when he was in WWE, fans turned against him, making a sustained push impossible. Thanks to a couple of matches where Ryback was not as careful as he could have been, his career was destroyed. And since then, he has exposed himself to be a rather controversial character online. CM Punk and Colt Cabana were good friends for years. Cabana provided his friend with a platform to air his grievances after leaving WWE. Punk promised to cover any legal costs that he would incur. Inevitably, Dr. Chris Amon sued Punk and Cabana. Instead of standing together, the two fell apart. Cabana would sue his friend, which led to a lot of people being surprised. He alleged that Punk had refused to cover the cost of the legal fees that he had promised. Cabana's lawsuit contends Punk promised to help him out with the legal bills they amassed fighting the defamation lawsuit. Cabana claims Punk told him in a text that he would be 100% covered. Punk has failed to keep that promise, leaving him with unpaid legal bills totaling $513,736 according to the lawsuit. Punk asked Cabana to pay half of the legal fees, which comes out to $256,868, saying, "You are on your own." Punk would disagree, but the lawsuit was eventually settled. The bad blood between Punk and Cabana remains to this day. CM Punk, after his pipe bomb, was never not a top-level WWE star. Be it holding the top title or being a part of the biggest feuds with the top stars in the company, he was always in the limelight. However, in his mind, there was only one goal that he wanted to hit, being in the main event of WrestleMania. Unfortunately, he always missed out on this. John Cena and The Rock were in the main event at WrestleMania 28, while Punk faced and defeated Chris Jericho in an immense feud. At WrestleMania 29, Punk had a crazy opportunity of becoming a part of the streak when he faced The Undertaker. He also got to face The Rock at the Royal Rumble the previous year. While he lost some of these matches, it was when he heard that he was going to lose to Triple H at WrestleMania the next year that he decided he had had enough and left the company. His injuries were definitely a huge issue that should have been looked after as well by the company at this time. However, the other side of not being in the main event slot was a weird complaint of Punk's, given how many others would have appreciated that spot, facing the likes of Jericho, Undertaker, The Rock, and Triple H. While Punk has always portrayed himself as a voice of the voiceless and a reasonable person who cares about others, that's not really been true. He's taken shots at wrestlers who had nothing to do with him just because he felt like it. A good example of this is Lana. During the feud between Lashley and Rusev, where Lana had cheated on Rusev, Punk suggested, "Loser keeps Lana match. Just booked you through Mania, Chica. You're welcome." Lana was less than happy about being called Chica, calling him misogynistic. The Undertaker is possibly one of the most respected wrestlers. His achievements in the company cannot be compared to anyone, as his commitment to his character and his gimmick is impossible to replicate. Backstage, Taker was a locker room leader, something that Punk did not accept. When Punk was champion, Taker asked him to dress the part and not wear casuals to respect the belt. Punk ignored him and continued to wear casuals, which led to Taker turning against him, as the star not only ignored the advice, but also disrespected the veteran. CM Punk angering others backstage appears to be a recurring theme because before this he ticked off Booker T. Punk always called himself a locker room leader, something that others don't take well. Cody Rhodes didn't like Punk and said that he was always telling others how to behave backstage and do whatever he said. Punk was being patronizing and asking WWE stars to throw their trash in the bin backstage in the locker room, something that they would have done anyway. Booker T took exception to this, and they ended up having a confrontation. Cody and Jericho talked about Punk's odd behavior backstage once during the Jericho Cruise. Chris Jericho said, "Cody, do you remember this weird locker room meeting in WWE once where CM Punk said that he was the locker room leader? Do you remember that?" Cody replies, "I tried not to name names." Jericho says, "I'll say it because it's my cruise." Punk said, "As the locker room leader, you don't lead me," Jericho had said in response, and Cody said it worked on a certain demo. But there was one meeting where Booker T was in the room, and Punk hit the "as the locker room leader, I'm telling all of you guys to pick up your trash," and Booker literally threw his trash on the floor. He's not telling me to pick up my trash. They had this whole interaction. CM Punk was one of the best at what he did in the ring and on the mic when he was a part of WWE. He was an innovator and showed that being smaller didn't matter when it came to being successful. However, just because he was successful in the ring did not mean he could replicate it in the UFC octagon. He signed with the promotion, and after only a year or so of training entered, only to be defeated in a matter of minutes as he tapped out. He would lose in a second fight as well, though it went on longer. The star was not suited for MMA and was better as a commentator, but it took 2 defeats in the octagon for his ego to understand. The biggest example of CM Punk's ego taking over was the post-event scrum at AEW All Out. He went on a seemingly planned rant, shooting on anyone and everyone, while Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, looked on helplessly. He first brought up his beef with Colt Cabana, despite not having been given an opening, and talking about his mother. "My problem was I wanted to bring a guy with me to the top that did not want to see me at the top. You can call it jealousy. You can call it envy. Whatever it is, my relationship with Scott Colton ended long before I paid all of his bills. I have every receipt. I have every invoice. I have every email. I have the email where he says, and I quote, "I agree to go our separate ways. I will get my own lawyer, and you do not have to pay any more." That's an email that I have. The only reason the public did not see it is because when I finally had to countersue him through discovery, we discovered he shared a bank account with his mother. That's a fact. As if that was not enough, he then took shots at those who founded AEW, The Elite, and once again Hangman Page. What did I ever do in this world to deserve an empty-headed dump like Hangman Adam Page to go on national television and go into business for himself? For what? What did I ever do? I didn't do a thing. There's people who call themselves EVPs that should have known better. This was none of their business. I understand sticking up for your friends. I get it. I stuck up for that guy more than anybody. I paid his bills until I didn't, and it was my decision not to. When somebody who hasn't done a thing in this business jeopardizes the first $1 million house that this company has ever drawn off of my back and goes on national television and does that, it's a disgrace to this industry. It's a disgrace to this company. Now, we're far beyond apologies. I gave him a chance. It did not get handled, and you saw what I had to do, which is very regrettable, lowering myself to his level. But that's where we're at right now. Punk was clearly going into business for himself, and all that happened as a result of this is a fight backstage in the locker room. Now, the Elite CM Punk and possible Vampire Ace Steel are all suspended after a chaotic turnout. While the investigation goes on, stories of what happened emerged, with Punk apparently throwing the first punch. Punk's ego has resulted in what can only be called a catastrophic issue backstage in AEW. And these were 10 times CM Punk's ego took over. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.